Hi, I'm Mary.
And I'm Katie, and this is The Housewife Did It.
True Crime Edition.
Mary thinks it's funny.
Is the way I said it. This is very robotic. I was like, hi!
All right.
Yeah,
What?
nothing. I was just gonna say, Mary's in Pain Edition.
Oh, yeah.
Bad Back Edition.
Always. Quick real-time true crime. P. Diddy has been accused by a fourth woman of sexual assault. A woman who was 17 at the time is claiming that she was gang raped and trafficked by the rapper.
Are the other people involved, also famous?
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, I think maybe one is like an ex-girlfriend of his. But the other three women, I don't.
No, I mean involved in the
in the gang rape and like the trafficking. I don't know. I mean, I don't think there's been other names given. But I mean, yeah, it could totally be a Jeffrey Epstein situation. But he has since posted, "Enough is enough. My character has been attacked." However, there is a picture of him with this, at the time, girl, with her sitting in his lap in the studio.
It's not a good look.
Which is giving R. Kelly, I was just their mentor.
Right. It's not a good look. And here's the thing, and I gotta stop giving advice to bad people. But if you are a mentor to a teenage girl, you also have to be aware of how you act and how you look and what you do, because mentor relationships can be more than professional.
Sure.
But if that person is not a legal adult, then you also have to be aware that you're not only in a mentor relationship, you're in an adult child relationship.
Right.
And those have their own set of rules.
Right.
My husband teaches high school. And sometimes he'll say he'll come home and say one of my friends, and then he's like, nope. One of my kids.
And it's hard when you're a certain age, I guess.
Right. My husband's 27. So he's one of the younger teachers at his school, and he teaches seniors, so they're all 18, and sometimes he does forget that they're not just friends, but because of their closeness in age, but he also is hyper aware of how he speaks to them, and hyper aware of how he interacts with them and how he speaks about them, because you have to be, especially because I am not hyper aware of how I interact with my children because they're 7, and it's pretty easy to remember that they're 7. I don't ever feel like, oh my god, I forgot where I was for a second. I forgot that these are not my peers. But when you're with someone who's close enough in age to you but is a child, you have to be hyper aware and hypersensitive to how you interact with them.
Yeah, and I think...
And letting them sit on your lap, in general, is not a good look.
Right, and I think we've, entered this phase where people say, you can't be doing that because of, how it looks. And, I'm not gonna be anywhere near an underage girl alone because of how it looks. And I think, more than that, if you're a mentor, which, P. Diddy hasn't, said that, but obviously if she's in the studio, that's, the kind of relationship I would assume he's gonna say that they had. But if you are serving as, a mentor, I think, the way to look at it, instead of, what should I avoid so that I don't get in trouble, is, what should I avoid so that I don't make this 17-year-old girl believe that this is normal? If you're a mentor, even if you don't sexually assault her, she's going to leave that relationship thinking that sitting on the laps of musicians who are older than her and musicians who offer to teach her is normal. And I think, like, more than anything else, just, like, modeling appropriate relationships and appropriate behavior.
Right.
So, like, instead of thinking, like, oh, shit, she shouldn't sit in my lap because I'm going to get in trouble, she shouldn't sit in my lap because I want her to know that, say someone was a predator, she would know that that's weird.
Right. And not only, like, modeling that behavior, but, like, specifically, like, seeking out to tell them what is an unacceptable behavior. Like, again, like, with my husband, he said, like, his kids will come to him sometime and say, like, one of their teachers said something, like, inappropriate to them. Like, not, like, fireably inappropriate, but just, like,
just a little weird.
That, like, you shouldn't say as a teacher. And he's like, no, they shouldn't speak to you that way. Like, like, make it clear to them, especially if you're their mentor and you're supposed to be giving them insight and advice on this industry. Like, make it clear to them, like, if someone says or does that to you, that's unacceptable. Like, no, that's not okay.
Yeah.
Not like, well, we're just friends. Like, no one.
Yeah. All right. Now, we have a long case tonight. Probably. I assume.
Buckle in.
So, yeah. That's exactly what I was going to say. Buckle in, folks. All right. Mary, are you ready?
Yes. As we mentioned last week, this is going to be... We're going to step away from making fun of Mormons, and we're going to make fun of ourselves.
We're not really going to make fun. We're going to
call us out.
It's going to get real, All right. On the evening of June 22nd, 1983, Frederica Orlandi got a call from her younger sister, Emanuela, that she would be back to their home in Vatican City later that evening. As the hours went by, Emanuela still had not returned home, and her family became increasingly concerned. But the Vatican City gates would be closing at midnight. More than 40 years later, Emanuela Orlandi remains the Vatican's only missing citizen. I'm going to start off by telling you a little bit about Emanuela Orlandi. So, she was born on January 14th, 1968 in Vatican City, an independent city-state inside of Rome, Italy. She sang in the choir and played the flute and piano. At
the Vatican?
Probably not. Maybe. Oh.
I don't know. I just assume that's their only church.
Maybe, though. I don't know. I mean, she did do, like, performances at church, but I don't know that you do just, like, go to Mass at St. Peter's. But I don't know. At 14 years old, she was the fourth of 5 children in her family. The Orlandi family had worked for the Vatican under 7 different popes and were currently living inside the city's gates in an apartment, which I guess was, like, normal. Like, to us, it's like, whoa, like, a family of fucking 7 is in an apartment?
Yeah.
But I think, like, that's kind of typical.
Yeah. Also, like, Vatican City's not very big.
No.
So,
housing's gotta,
Right.
Her childhood in Vatican City was characteristically safe, getting to play around frequently in the Vatican gardens. How freaking cute.
Lucky.
Yeah. Well.
At this time.
Yeah.
Lucky for that.
Yeah. In 1983, Vatican City had about 100 residents inside of 121 acres of gated property. In 2019, this was up to about 400 residents. Where the fuck did you put those people? More apartments. Yeah. Vatican City is completely under the Pope's jurisdiction and had become entirely independent in 1929. In addition to being the governing authority of Vatican City, the Pope is also the bishop of Rome's diocese and the church. All authority of the Vatican falls under the Pope and then to his cardinals. Vatican City does not have its own armed forces, prisons, hospitals, or schools. They have Vatican City police and fire departments and their own bank. So really, if an investigation was conducted only by Vatican police, we really wouldn't know anything about it. Like, they have, like, no, like, public record laws. Like, you know, like, there's, like, no disclosure necessary. Yeah. But if Vatican City had to sentence someone to prison time, they would have to serve in Italian prisons, although the cost would be fully covered by the Vatican. There are a few things that just make cross-territory crimes get a little confusing. I don't, like, have a list of them. It just...
With only 400 citizens, they probably don't have a lot of issues.
Right, and I would, like, assume that, you know, like, I don't know, like, crimes, like, at least, like, petty crimes. Like, if I were a Vatican City resident and I wanted to commit a petty crime, like, it might be a little more effective to do so in Rome. Just to step outside of the gates and go, you know, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
How much is available to you in the Vatican City? The Vatican Bank is actually listed by the U.S. as a concern for money laundering. Students like Emanuela rode buses into Rome to get to school, which I'm sure was, like, still very close. Vatican City's economy is entirely composed of donations and essentially museum sales. Entirely. Oh. Citizens, yeah, well, they probably got a lot of donations. Yeah. Citizens do not pay taxes, and so needless to say, there was a lot that made life in Vatican City different and also complex. On June 22nd... Yeah, the taxes part. On June 22nd, 1983, Pope John Paul II was in Poland speaking about the Solidarity movement. According to what I could find, this is basically just an anti-communist effort. I don't feel the need to elaborate on that. On that same day, back in Rome, everyone remembers it as an extremely hot day. Like, it is the first thing anyone says in any of this research. It was so freaking hot. Emanuela had a choir rehearsal, and she had asked her brother Pietro to drive her to school because it was so hot, and she didn't want to ride the bus and then walk in the heat. But her brother was busy, and he wasn't able to take her. Between 5 and 7 p.m., Emanuela called home and spoke to her sister, Frederica, and told her that she had been offered a small job with Avon handing out advertisements and that she would be home later. Emanuela's younger sister, Christina, and their friend were planning to meet up with Emanuela to also find work with this Avon guy. I think he had, like, told Emanuela, like, bring friends. Like, obviously, as many people advertising is great.
It's a pyramid scheme. He's like, I got you.
Yeah, you bring your friends. Yeah, this is how it works. No matter that you're a child. They arrived at their meeting place around 7, but Emanuela wasn't. How old is she? She's
14?
14, yeah.
Alright.
They arrived at their meeting place around 7, but Emanuela wasn't there. They waited until 7:45, patient, I must say, before they went back home. When Christina got home, she asked her family if Emanuela had returned, but she had not. In fact, they were confused because they were like, I thought she was with you. When she still wasn't home by 9:30, her family really started panicking. Like I said before, the Vatican City gates would be closing at midnight, so the family rushed out into Rome and began searching for Emanuela. They reported her missing to the Roman police, the Carabinieri, but they were basically turned away. The police told them that she had probably run away. The number of runaway teens in Rome had actually been increasing lately, and so they shouldn't worry too much yet. Her uncle Mario was driving around Rome, showing her picture to everyone all the way until the sun came up. Honestly, he was probably like, the gates are shut at this point. I'm just gonna keep going, till they open them again.
Fair.
The next day, the Orlandi family reported Emanuela missing again, and the police took the report this time, but they reiterated to the family that she had probably just run away. In fact, they told them, I wouldn't worry too much. She's not really that pretty, so she probably wouldn't have been taken.
The fuck?
But at least they said it in Italian.
It's like this beautiful language, and they're like, you're not ugly as shit. Nobody wants her.
No, Bella. She's ugly. Also, she's not. Like,
yeah.
What? She's very, also, very cute girl.
14.
Yeah.
She's going to look 14.
Like a 14-year-old. But she's also, like, a very pretty 14-year-old.
Yeah.
And, I don't know.
That's creepy.
Rough. They're like, we wouldn't have taken her. So.
She's not up to our standards.
Don't you worry. Those other girls we take, they are cuter than her. They did start to investigate her disappearance as a runaway case. A traffic officer witnessed Emanuela on June 22nd getting into a green BMW with a man between 35 and 40 years old in a square about a block away from her school. The family also put an ad into the paper about her disappearance, and it actually caught a lot of attention because although lots of teens were going missing or running away in Rome, Emanuela was a Vatican child. They included her photo, description, and the family's address and phone number. And the family pretty quickly started receiving calls. Some with tips about Emanuela's disappearance, others were reporters just wanting to catch a story. A few days after the ad was posted, the Orlandis got a call from a young 16-year-old named Pierluigi who said that he was walking... Huh?
That's such a cute name.
It is cute. Who said that he was walking around with his girlfriend in the area that Emanuela was last seen. They had met a girl who said that her name was either Barbara or Barbarella, standing in the square advertising for Avon. She had a leather flute case on her back, which tracks.
That's where she keeps all of her makeup.
That's where she keeps her flute.
It's Emanuela. Yeah. Sorry. I thought that this was like the person who took Emanuela was like selling Avon.
Yeah. Yeah. When they returned home that evening and watched the news, Pierluigi recognized the girl on the TV named Emanuela as the girl that they had just met a few hours before. At the time of this call, the Avon and flute information had not been made public yet. So they were like, wait, that's a good lead. Peace, tell me more.
Pierluigi.
The next day, the Italian police knocked on the Orlandi door and asked if they could put a recording device on their home phone in case they received any other important calls with tips. On June 28th, they did get another tip. A man named Mario called and said that a young woman calling herself Barbara or Barbarella had been frequenting his bar.
Wait. Mario and Luigi.
Mario and Pierluigi. Yeah.
Okay. Continue.
Had been frequenting his bar. Now, to clarify, in Italy, this would mean like a coffee shop or a restaurant. Mm-hmm. She's not a 14-year-old in a bar, although I must say in Italy that's also not strange. Yeah. Mario says that she had mentioned that she ran away. Her hair was cut from what he had seen on the news, but he did recognize her as the same girl. She had told him that she would need to go back home soon, though, for an important choir performance coming up. Once again, her upcoming choir performance was not public information. Mm-hmm. However, they also could not verify any bars in the area owned by someone named Mario, which really seems like a shock to me, but okay. The family started plastering bright blue posters with Emanuela's face everywhere that they could, with Emanuela's face everywhere that they could around Rome and Vatican City. The posters read Scomparsa in huge letters, meaning disappearance. They wanted to catch as much attention as they possibly could. On July 3rd, 1983, Pope John Paul II spoke in front of St. Peter's Square about Emanuela's disappearance, which I feel like is pretty, like, unprecedented. I don't know.
Yeah.
He expressed...
I feel like this is kind of unprecedented.
Yeah, it is.
For them.
Yeah. He expressed deep sympathy for her family and said that he shared the anxieties and offered prayers for her return. He said that he is not losing hope in the sense of humanity of whoever is responsible. This comment sparked a lot of debate because at the time, the police were still treating this as a runaway case. And then the Pope stands in front of a crowd and basically says that it is his belief that she was abducted by insinuating that someone is responsible.
But do you think that he's trying to be, like, neutral to not upset, like, either party and kind of meant, like, whether she's responsible or whoever's responsible?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think at this point it is possible that he does not know anything.
Yeah.
And this could just feel like a very kind of like cookie cutter way to say, like,
whatever happened,
like, get her home.
Yeah.
Or Emanuela, get yourself home.
Yeah.
But yeah, people read a lot into what he said.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it. I just wonder if it was meant to be more like, well, whoever did this,
Emanuela, get your ass home.
Whether it's her or someone else.
Yeah, and I also think, like, something to consider, but I don't know that it's super relevant, but is that, like, the police who are treating it as a runaway case are technically Roman police. Yeah. And so that doesn't necessarily mean that is the belief
within
of the Vatican, and the Vatican could be like, one of our children would never run away. They're not like all you bad Roman children.
They have everything they could want right here.
Right here.
Except school and police and
prison.
Freedom.
Yeah.
After midnight.
Yeah. They definitely have a curfew. So he mentioned the people responsible and asked for her safe return. Many people hearing this read it as some sort of admission of guilt that the Pope has knowledge of her abduction and that she is still alive. Like, that he knows those things for a fact. Which I think is, like, at this point in the story, I think is, like, a little bit of a reach. That, like, that is what people do. Like, people say, we want her to get home safely. Prayers for her return. And, like, if you said that as a president, no one would be like, he knows she's alive.
Yeah.
And he knows she could return safe because he's the one holding her alive.
I think even if he's not, like, saying that to, like, with the intention of being neutral, I think that if you're going to stick to one story, it would be better to risk, like, the police being annoyed that you didn't side with them than, like, her family and her.
Right, and I also think you do, like, typically speaking, in these cases, I think, like, press conferences, you err on the side of caution that, like, a missing person might not be missing on their own accord, and people speak to
should be considered in danger.
Right. And people speak in press conferences to, like, a potential abductor, and you might find out later there was no abductor. She ran away with her boyfriend or whatever.
So, like,
so it's like
another Italian.
It's, like, not far-fetched to be like, I'm just going to err on the worst-case scenario. And what if her abductor is listening? Now they've heard the Pope say, please get her home. And, like, that's something.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Our thumbnail is just going to be us doing this.
2 days later, the family received another call from a man whose accent, they could tell, was not Italian. He sounded American, although speaking entirely in Italian. He tells the Orlandis that his organization is responsible for Emanuela's kidnapping. They explained that the calls from Pierluigi and Mario earlier in the investigation were also from the same organization. And that's how they had information that wasn't public yet.
And that's why they're calling them Mario and Luigi, because they're American, and those are the only Italians they can think of.
He played for them a recording of Emanuela speaking. The family is absolutely certain that the voice in the recording is Emanuela's, but the content of the message is nonsensical. She's just repeating the name of her school over and over again and saying, I should be in my 3rd year of school. Obviously in Italian. So, I'm not sure what the deal is. Now is when the alleged kidnappers make their demands. The caller, nicknamed the American, said that they would return Emanuela if the Italian government released a prisoner named Mehmet Ali Agca by July 20th. It is July 5th at the time of this call. So they got 15 days, 2 weeks, they said. Chop, chop. Everyone...
never mind. That's a stupid question.
He's not in prison in Vatican City.
No. But I was thinking, like, who are they demanding this of? But it would be the Roman police? Would the Pope get a say?
Yes.
Okay.
So everyone immediately knew who this was because Ali Agca from Turkey had attempted to assassinate Pope John Paul II 2 years prior. So yeah, I do think the Pope would get a say.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like...
Is JP2 still kicking it, or did he die?
He's dead.
He died.
Yes.
Which one quit?
Benedict, but he's also now dead.
Okay, that's what I thought.
He had shot the Pope in the middle of St. Peter's Square, and the Pope was rushed to the hospital. It is believed that Ali Agca was a member of a Turkish ultra-nationalist organization, say that 10 times fast, called the Grey Wolves. Later, though, Agca would say that the Grey Wolves were not behind his attack on the Pope, but that he was actually sent by the KGB. The KGB is the Security and Intelligence Division of the Soviet Union, and let me just say, that's a little far-fetched. The KGB is, like, serious. Like, very, very serious. Not that killing the Pope isn't serious.
Yeah, but, like, who are the president's people? What are they called?
The Secret Service. I don't know. Yeah.
The Secret Service be like, okay, go kill the Pope.
Yeah, and, like, I think the argument is maybe that, like, JP2, well, I'm going to refer to him probably as JP2 moving forward, John Paul II. I think the argument could be that JP2, like, was fighting this really anti-communist agenda. Yeah. And so, like, the KGB was like, oh, hell no. But,
no.
And obviously he's a big target. I'm not saying, like, oh, they didn't just send you to shoot little old Pope. Because JP2 is a big shot guy. Yeah. But I don't know about that.
That's why he's got a nickname. Like JP. Mm-hmm. I like when non-Catholic people tell the story and they continuously say his full name.
Yeah. I had written it out for, like, respectful and accuracy purposes, but I was getting sick of it, so.
I don't think I've ever called him anything except JP2.
Now, it is true that Pope John Paul II had been a major challenger to communism and communist countries and had made huge attempts to convert any nations that were essentially non-believers. In fact, fun fact, JP2 and President Reagan were like besties.
That's not a good look.
Now,
Ronald Reagan invented the war on black people and called it the war on drugs.
It's true. For another time, folks.
Mm-hmm. It's not for another time. Here we go.
We'll take down every establishment ever by the end of this. My next case, actually, too. So The caller or someone associated also called in to a local news agency and informed them of the exchange being offered to the Vatican. They gave directions to a garbage can where the reporters could find proof of their claims. Inside, they found a copy of Emanuela's school ID and school tuition check, along with a handwritten note from her. The note was unrelated to the kidnapping, so it's likely that it was written at another time, and these are all things that could have just been found in her bag for school. The American then made a request for a direct, I guess thinking, like, now they have proof that I'm serious, so he then made a request for a direct line to the Vatican City Secretary of State to be installed, so that he didn't have to call through the Orlandis anymore. Which is, like, also just, like, so annoying that, like, Emanuela, like, is irrelevant now. Like, yeah. It's, like, not about her anymore at all. Someone, I think reports say it was her Uncle Mario, a different Mario. Uncle. Someone told the caller that they needed proof of life to move forward with any sort of exchange. Smart, Uncle Mario. Copies of her ID. Don't tell me shit, dude. I'm gonna need more than that. On July 17th, the American called another news agency stating that they would leave proof of life somewhere to be found and provided directions to, you guessed it, another garbage can. This time outside of Rome's presidential palace. A journalist ran to the location and found a box with a tape inside. When they played the tape, it was a recording of a young girl screaming, crying, and moaning out in pain. The next day, on July 18th, the caller was obliged and a direct line to the Vatican was installed. Up until this point, the caller had only been able to relay messages through the Orlandi family or through news agencies. On that direct line, they started to receive multiple calls from the American from various public phones around Rome. So, payphones, I guess. July 20th came and went, and Ali Agca was not released. But the caller must have extended the deadline. Now, the problem here is once that direct line was installed, we don't really know when or what negotiations were being made because it wasn't going through news agencies or the Orlandis, and as you will learn, anything that's happening behind closed Vatican doors, we are not going to know about. That seems to be how it was intended. The Secret Service, or CISTE, let the Orlandis know that they would actually be taking over their phone and transferring calls to a lawyer to speak to the caller. Which, like, I don't know how I feel. Like, on the one hand, I'm like, I guess, like, thank you for, like, not making me, like, talk to the person who has my daughter all the time. But also, like, I would like to talk to the person that has my daughter.
Yeah. Also, just, like, you didn't ask.
Yeah. I'm guessing, like, you, like, don't tell them no.
But, like,
yeah,
it's
and
still,
it's rude.
Like, today, I had a kid say, I'm just gonna go to the bathroom real quick, okay? Which was not impolite, and I was gonna let him go anyway. But I was like, wait a second. Yeah. That's not how this exchange is supposed to go. Mm-hmm. You know, like, it just, something about it feels like, when we're taking over your phone now.
Thank you.
Like, I'd be like, excuse you?
Now, Emanuela's father told them, we will not be able to afford a lawyer. But the CISTE agents told him that the cost would be covered. The lawyer that would begin handling these calls and essentially the case, Gennaro Egidio, specialized in bankruptcy cases, not hostage negotiations or even criminal cases at all. Great.
Helpful.
Yeah. Many months later, on December 14th, another call was placed to the lawyer saying that the exchange was still an option. In December? She was taken in June. Like, you're just like, hey, by the way, like,
We're still down if you are.
You could still take us up on that. But no moves seem to have been made from this offer. And I mean seem to, because Emanuela's not back. On December 28th, 1983, JP2 visited the Orlandi home. This was pretty much unheard of. Even though their family had served under 7 popes, they had not really interacted much with the pope directly, especially not having one enter their home.
I cannot imagine.
Yeah. Especially if it was JP2.
I cannot imagine my priest coming in my home.
No thanks. He told the Orlandis that their daughter's case was one of international terrorism. Which, like, is that just from the Ali Akça thing? Like, is that... Or do you know something we don't know?
Yeah.
Tell me.
Tell me, specifically.
Why do you know what our case is a matter of at all? I don't know nothing.
Yeah.
For a long time, leads would come in random spurts. So, obviously the deadline was passed, but nothing happened. Or, at least nothing that the family was aware of. Ali Akça was not released. No one else had come forward. And the calls, again, at least to the family, had stopped. In 1993, a prosecutor showed the family a photo of a woman in a convent who people thought looked like Emanuela. Now, the picture wasn't great, but they thought it might be her. They all flew to Luxembourg to meet her. Emanuela's mom went in the room alone with the woman, and when she came back out, they all could tell from her face that it was not Emanuela. Although, I do wonder, like, if this girl was, like, willing to meet, like, is she also a missing person? Mm-hmm. Like, or did she not say, like, I don't need to meet with someone, like, I know my mother.
Yeah.
This is my name. I am not, like, I don't know. Strange.
Yeah.
One source, a member of the Secret Service, said that he or she does not believe that the audio was Emanuela, the one of someone screaming, crying, and moaning in pain. They think that it was a clip from a porn film. I happen to agree. While the person is kind of yelling in pain, they are also saying yes a lot. But also, like, I guess, who knows? I don't know. Strange. But maybe that's also, like, comforting to know that the family did not hopefully actually listen to audio of Emanuela in pain.
Yeah.
This source suspects that this negotiation was all used to cover up something for the church / the Vatican. But what? And I wonder, like, when you say, like, it's all, I just need to know, like, from the beginning, like, the kidnapping itself, or, like, once negotiations started being made. Like, this is where I start to get confused about, like, do I believe the Vatican is responsible for taking Emanuela, or do I believe they are responsible for, like, covering up once they needed to start negotiating with someone? Yeah. Or, like, were they being blackmailed or something? I believe the answer is yes to one of those. Just spoiler alert. I'm just not sure which. Now, it is strange to me and to others that the conditions of the exchange were not given immediately, but only in the third call. If the caller's claims are correct that Pierluigi and Mario were calls from the same group, which I question too, like, maybe those were real witnesses that did actually see those things about her. But they also probably weren't, because I don't think this kidnapper was, like, letting her walk around for hours or maybe even days. So if they're all from the same group, then they did not make their demands until the third call, which is abnormal for, what do you call that? like hostage negotiation. Yeah, for ransom calls. Like, you call and you're like, I have your kid.
Yeah. Here's what I need.
Yeah, like, get it to me now. In fact, people also think it's strange that by the time the call came in which the exchange was offered, the Pope had already mentioned the case publicly. So people think that's suspicious. Was there not going to be an offer? But then they were like, hey, damn, I could get something from this Pope. Is the whole offer fake, and that person that made that offer didn't even have Emanuela? Like, who knows? So, I guess, what do you make of this so far, or that part specifically? Do you think they were just trying to, like, feel the family out for the first two calls? Or I thought maybe they were trying to get the phones tapped for when they did make their ransom call?
I don't know. I think... I kind of think they are lying.
Okay.
I think
they saw the Pope.
They found her bag. Or something, or like, I don't know. I think maybe they found her bag and took the opportunity, but I also think, like, what a coincidence that these people who want, but then I also think, like, maybe some random ass person found her bag and made up this entire thing and was like, I could get someone released from prison, I could do this, and like, but I just don't believe that they have her,
the caller.
Yeah, I think because or I guess maybe they just don't have her alive.
Yeah.
But they can't seem to prove that they ever had her.
It's true.
Personally.
Yeah, I think, like, the copy of the school ID, I'm like, yeah, why is it a copy?
Yeah. And also, like, why does she have her tuition check?
Maybe she had to turn it in. Like, maybe she brings it to school.
But then why was it not turned in?
I don't know. Yeah, she forgot. I don't know. Or it said a copy. So, like, was it a copy of, like, the receipt from the check, or, like, you know, like, you tear out? I don't know. Yeah, weird.
Yeah, I just think it's like, I just think they haven't been able to prove that they have her.
Yeah.
But I don't know what I think happened to her.
Yeah.
I also think that the Pierluigi situation sounds more genuine.
Like that he was just a witness?
No, like that he saw, like just that he saw her in general. Like, yeah. Without knowing that information. And so, like, I guess in theory they could be, like, lying about the timeline. Because, again, like, that information had not been released that she had all those things. Maybe they really did see her, or just lying about when.
Sure.
But, I don't know. I just, like... This was one that, like, it genuinely seems like she disappeared into thin air. And there's, like, so many different, like, theories that, like, all make sense in different ways, but, like, none of them really click for me.
Yeah.
And make me think, like, oh, that's who had her.
Yeah. Yeah. Alright, so we're gonna jump to 2004. Emanuela's father, Ercole Orlandi, passed away. Before this, he said, I was betrayed by those I served. Which is sad. And I don't know what changed his mind to believe that before. Like, if he just means they didn't look hard enough.
Yeah.
Or if he's already starting to suspect something. Only 1 year later, in 2005, Pope John Paul II died. Very shortly after the Pope's death, a news agency received a call that they should investigate a particular crypt at the Santa Apollinare Basilica because the person buried inside is important to the case. which left many people to wonder, it had been so many years, how could this possibly be related, and, like, why now?
Yeah.
When they arrived at the basilica, they discovered that it was actually a building attached to Emanuela's school. Sketchy. It's already sketchy. In that...
Well, and I was going to say, when you said that these are all copies of things, those are things that her school would have had on file.
It's true.
So, like, someone at the school or someone with access to the school made the copies and sent them, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't considered that, but yeah, you're right. In that crypt that the tip was talking about was buried Enrico Renatino de Pedis, a notorious Italian gangster who was arrested in 1984 and killed in 1990. He was known as the King of the Underworld and was the leader of the organized crime group Banda della Magliana. It was shocking to a lot of people that De Pedis would be buried in a basilica tomb. Not just anyone got buried in a Vatican-owned building in a place of honor. And this man was known as a major career criminal. The implication of the call and speculation from the discovery was that De Pedis had done something for the Vatican, which earned him that burial site. How do you think...
ballsy of them.
How do you think he got buried there?
Yeah. Also, if he did something sketchy, it's pretty ballsy of them to be like, and we're gonna honor him.
I know. When I
by putting him somewhere no one would ever guess he'd be buried.
When I first read it, I was like, oh, they somehow were able to tell it was his remains, but surely, like, his name isn't on it. No, bitch, his name... Why would you put the name of the King of the Underworld in your church? Like, yeah, that is ballsy. Also, couldn't you just, like... I don't know, maybe not. I was going to say, then you got, like, the mafia coming for you. But I was going to say, couldn't you, like, lie and be like, yeah, do this for us. We'll bury you in a place of honor. And then he's dead. Don't do it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so does this also make you think, what kind of favors did he do for the Vatican?
I think I do wonder why he's buried there, but I also feel like I think it's odd that he's buried there, but I think that if he had done something sketchy for them and they were able to hide it for that long and that well, why would they openly bury him in a basilica crypt?
It's true.
You know, like, that just feels silly to me. Like, to go through all of this work to be so sketchy and he's not dug up until 15 years later. Yeah. And nobody even knew he was buried there. But if you went, you would know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It just feels... Yeah, it feels silly to me to think that, like, they were, like, openly honoring him for...
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was going to say maybe they hoped that, like, people wouldn't read the name and, like, know exactly who it was, but, like, everyone knew who this person was.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Now, many have connected the involvement of De Pedis with the Vatican Bank. Perhaps the kidnapping of a Vatican child was ordered to blackmail the Vatican to pay back money that it owed. Here is some background that will help you understand what may have led people to this theory. In 1982, the Banco Ambrosiano collapsed with the Vatican Bank as its main shareholder. Now, what
physically collapsed or
no,
monetarily,
like financially collapsed.
Okay.
Now, what a shareholder really is to its core, I don't really know, but they were partners in a way. So, essentially, the bank would have lost a lot of money, which may have belonged to other people or other groups. The chairman of the Banco Ambrosiano, Roberto Calvi, was known as God's banker, because of his direct financial ties to the Vatican Bank. In June of 1982, a postal worker found a man hanged under the Blackfriars Bridge in London. This man was Roberto Calvi, and the Blackfriars were closely associated with the church. They were like a monk group. It was soon realized that this was not a suicide when they discovered the currency of multiple countries filling Calvi's pockets. The money in his pockets, along with the location of the body, leads many people to believe that this is a message to the Vatican regarding the money that the Vatican may owe to the mobs. If you believe that, then it doesn't seem so far-fetched then that the Vatican could owe the Banda della Magliana money as well, which could have led to blackmailing them. It's a lot to follow.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, like, what I take from this is just that, like, someone killed this man in, like, this very symbolic way, who was, like, right-hand financial guy to the Pope, and would have been partially responsible for this, like, bank collapse. And then they have also, like, insinuated that the Vatican that the De Pedis must have had something to blackmail the Vatican with, and, like, because of the bank collapse only 1 year prior, that, like, it's not hard to believe that it could have been money related. Now, belief in this theory is dependent, I guess, on the legitimacy of the tip. So the tip says the person buried in this crypt is connected to Emanuela Orlandi's case. So, like, to believe the rest of this, I think you would have to believe that the person in that crypt is connected to the case, and thus De Pedis is connected to the case. Because it's possible that the tip is bogus, and they just wanted to point out who was buried there. Interestingly, Maurizio Abatino, the boss of the other Banda della Magliana faction, there were two, became a criminal informant in 1992, and he said that he had heard that the Orlandi kidnapping was about money that the Vatican banks owed to De Pedis. But really, that is hearsay. So, just put it out there, though. The journalist decided that the best she could do was find De Pedis' girlfriend at the time of the kidnapping. There are conflicting reports on that year, but sometime in the few years after this tip about the crypt, she found Sabrina Minardi, his lover from 1982 to 1984. She admitted that De Pedis, or Renatino as she called him, had kidnapped, or at the very least been involved in the kidnapping of Emanuela Orlandi. In fact, she says that she was locked in a house with Emanuela for 10 days. According to Sabrina, Emanuela was locked in her own room, being taken care of by a woman named Adelaide, gorgeous, who continuously gave her pills that knocked her out, but when she was awake, Sabrina could hear her moaning. Now, here's some more of Sabrina's story. Sabrina met with Renatino, who was driving a green BMW with Emanuela in the back seat. A what? A green BMW? I'm just saying. He might be 35 to 40 years old, too, if we remember. He tells Sabrina that they need to get Emanuela out of the city, so he needs her to stay at Sabrina's family's home outside of the city for a few days. Sabrina said that she did recognize the disappearance posters, but that the girl's hair was now cut short. After the 10 days, Sabrina was instructed to drive Emanuela to the Vatican. De Pedis gave her instructions to go to the Vatican petrol station, gas station, and deliver the girl to a person with a Vatican City license plate on their car, which I would imagine is everyone at a Vatican City petrol station.
Right.
But somehow she found the right person. Someone dressed like a priest got out of the car and picked up Emanuela. Sabrina believed that Emanuela, after that, was staying at an apartment in Monteverdi. That specific apartment was confirmed to be owned by a member of the Banda della Magliana. Now, it's not necessarily confirmed that Emanuela was staying there, but if she was, that's suspicious. Mm-hmm. Inside of that apartment, investigators found a small basement room with essentially a fucking cave inside. It just, like, opened up. It was freaky. It's freaky, dude. Mm-hmm. There's no solid proof, though, that Emanuela stayed there or was held there. But why the fuck is there a cave?
Yeah.
I need to understand. Who are you keeping down there? I feel like it's got to be someone.
Is it possible that the underworld guy was in this, I almost called it a cyst. What's it called?
Cave?
What's the... No, where he
was
buried. Crypt. But not because of, like, his connection to the Vatican, but because, like, of a connection to the school?
I mean, possibly, but there isn't, like, a known connection to the school.
I just, again, like, wonder about, like, all of these, like... But then we decided that... But he's not related to the people who sent the copies of her stuff. Mm-mm. Okay, never mind them.
Now... I personally find this story to be compelling. It, like, scratches some of my itches. Mm-hmm. But many believe Sabrina Minardi to be an unreliable source, especially due to years of extensive cocaine use. So, any thoughts on this theory?
I think that this makes more sense than the wolf people.
Ali Agca.
Yes. Well, it wasn't him.
Yeah, the people that wanted him.
Yeah.
International terrorism.
Yeah, I think that this makes more sense than that. I still don't know, though, if I believe it connects to the Vatican itself.
Okay.
Just again, because I think it would be so silly to, like,
put your accomplice
all of this
in a, like, honored crypt.
Yeah. Like, to do all of this sneaking around and, like, bad shit, keep it so hush-hush, like, all of this drama and being so good about hiding it just to, like, drop the ball on something that seems so obvious.
Yeah.
As to not openly hold the dead body of a bad person.
Yeah, because I mean, on the one hand, like, I agree with you, because even if no one had given a tip about Emanuela, like, it still raises eyebrows that this person is buried in your church. And they might still wonder, but what is the Vatican doing with this person?
Right.
Which I guess, from what you're saying, if he's not connected to Emanuela, that is still a question. Why? Why is he there at all? But I just wonder, even if he didn't kidnap Emanuela, like, I personally think that he did do something for the Vatican that was criminal, suspect. Mm-hmm. And I just think maybe I don't understand the seriousness of what this mafia gangster group can do. And so, like, the Vatican may have had to make a deal and just say, like, look, we'll put you in this one, hope no one ever sees you. It's not a super trafficked basilica. We'll just...
Yeah. I also just wonder, though, like, what criminal is like, I'll do this for you if you bury me in a basilica when I die.
I know, yeah, it seems like
why is that the
part
reward?
of the deal? Yeah, I was gonna say, like, but I think it is hard for me to think, like, is that the deal that person wanted? Or just because they were, like, close with him, they did it. I don't know. Or it's also
that
like...
seems even more crazy to me, that, like, if they were just like, oh, he was so great to us when we needed him.
Or...
let's put him there.
Crazier theory, what if they killed him? Like, why do they have his body?
Because he did.
Sure, but why does the Vatican have his body? He's just a Roman gangster. Like, who gave...
I just
you
don't...
know?
Yeah, I just...
They
like,
killed that man.
I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like, I feel like the only way I could see them putting him there if he did something bad for them was if they were made to.
Yeah.
But then I also feel like...
but they could have been made to.
Is the mafia really more powerful than the Vatican? And then I also feel like, why would they want that? Why would they make them do that? And like, and then if we go back to like, maybe they didn't make him, then it's even more stupid.
Yeah, but maybe like, it's just like further blackmail. Maybe like, his successor said, listen, you know what we've been doing for you. You better bury him in a place of honor, and like, and then we won't tell anyone. And like
is that what Catholic gangsters want?
To be buried in a Vatican-owned building, maybe.
Yeah, like that's
wholesome.
Yeah,
it's cute. It's cute.
Like,
precious.
All I want is to be buried in a basilica.
Cute. In 2012, the family and supporters continued fighting to have the case exposed, so they held a protest. Around this same time in 2012, Valli leaks happened. Someone leaked important documents from inside the Vatican. Financial documents, some that exposed some secrets, others that pointed to their corruption. A priest who is the secretary of the Prefecture of Economic Affairs also came forward as a source. He told one reporter that in 2010, someone had broken into the ministry using keys and stolen confidential documents. I'd say they didn't break in. They entered.
I didn't break, but I entered.
Just E. No B and E. Just key and E.
Just your average everyday E.
Yeah. Later, the thieves returned the documents, although, given what I'm about to tell you, I'm guessing not before making copies.
Mm-hmm.
One...
oh, they got a copier?
Somewhere. Who got
ding, ding, ding.
Who got that copier?
They also making copies of her stuff?
30 years later.
Mm-hmm.
One of these documents was about the Orlandi case. The source gave the reporter 5 pages written by Cardinal Lorenzo Antonetti in 1998. The 5 pages were basically a table of contents for what is to come in a total of 197 pages. But we have 5.
5-page long table of contents.
Yep.
Jesus Christ.
The document read, expenses sustained by the Vatican State related to the citizen Emanuela Orlandi. It contains expenses related to the, quote, domestic removal, food, fees, and travel in London, and board and lodging at 176 Clapham Road in London, England. The expenses ranged from 1983 to 1997. Take your breath.
It's interesting because I've heard this case before, and I remember like the first time I heard it being like, I think it's I think it's such like a conspiracy theory to think like
my tinfoil hat
the
is on
Vatican
then.
did this, and then and like now I'm thinking like, how did I hear this and never think like, what the fuck did the Pope do?
No, I first heard this and I thought, we gotta rethink some things.
Yeah.
Now, of course, they looked into the address where she would have allegedly been living, that 176 Clapham Road. It was a girls' youth hostel run by the Catholic Church.
Mm-hmm.
The final expense on this document was the, quote, general transfer of the citizen to the Vatican State for the final procedure. Or final paperwork. The translation is unclear here.
I don't like that.
But, yeah, you shouldn't.
This is making me feel icky.
Hmm.
And we know these are real documents?
Technically, we do not know.
Okay. I was going to say, like, is it possible that Vati Leaks is just... Is it Dumois? Are these blind items we're receiving?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think all of Vati Leaks is fake. But it is...
Yeah, I'm just...
Question, yeah.
Leaving room for error.
Yes.
As is my job.
Yes.
I was gonna say something else. Oh, why would they need to remove her, though?
For what?
What problems? Why would they need to remove her? What problems is she causing?
We'll get there.
Okay.
Possibly. I don't think it's problems she's causing, but...
Well, I mean, like, what problems is she relevant to?
Mm-hmm. Now, the cost of this general transfer back to the Vatican State for the final procedure was 21 million lira. That's a lot.
How many dollars is that?
I don't know. And then I'd have to do, like, the year, but also they don't use lira anymore.
Because sometimes I see things in euros or yen, and I'm like, holy shit. Or like my best friend, I watched her dog during her honeymoon, and she brought me back a cross, and it was like, it said it cost like 84 pesos.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my god. And I found out that was like not a lot of money. It was, I mean, for what it was the right amount of money. It wasn't like she spent $85 on me.
Yeah,
like
I mean, 30. I don't know for sure, but like if it's comparable to a euro, like euros and dollars aren't like that far off.
What's it called?
Lira, but that's not their dollar like anymore.
$1 US or is equal to 1,795 lira. So you said 12 million or 21 million?
21 million.
11,000.
Oh.
Dollars.
Okay. It's also 1997, so things are cheaper.
Yeah. But also lira doesn't exist anymore, so like it's not like lira has experienced
inflation.
Inflation.
Yeah. Now, I'm thinking we're not on the same page yet.
No, but I'm there now.
I feel
what I'm saying is I don't know how I ever heard this case and didn't think the Vatican killed this girl.
Yeah. I feel like more and more signs point to involvement or, at the very least, knowledge by the Vatican. But...
No, they were hiding her.
It begs the question, why Emanuela?
I think that what's making me feel so icky about it is that it's giving, like, Joseph Fritzl, like, hiding her in, like, an apartment for so long and, like, not telling anyone. Like, it just feels like it's, ugh.
Yeah. Now, just because she was a Vatican child and happened to be the one that was kidnapped, like, if they weren't involved in the kidnapping, they just were like, okay, we'll hide her for 14 years? Or was she a specifically significant child that would be best for blackmailing? Or, what people wondered, could Emanuela have had a secret to use against the Vatican?
That'd be wild.
Emanuela's best friend spoke out later, saying that Emanuela had come to her recently before her disappearance, telling her that a cardinal had been, quote, bothering her. When pressed further in the interview, the friend, who was anonymous, so I would say already is fearful, the friend said, "That is really all I can say, is that he was bothering her, but you know what I am saying." Mm-hmm. Essentially, a cardinal had been sexually inappropriate toward Emanuela, according to this friend. With this theory, I think, how do we connect all the other ones? How did the mafia know this? How would the mafia have known this to kidnap her if she was just blackmail? To me, if it's related to the cardinal, the only way that it's related to the cardinal is if the Vatican itself hired someone to kidnap her for the purpose of getting rid of her. Mm-hmm. Yes? Right? Like, yes, I feel like we're leaving just knowledge of, and we're heading toward involvement in.
And then and then you think, like, maybe they contacted the mafia, and then the mafia knows, and so they're like, and you're going to do whatever we want, mm-hmm. or everyone's going to find out about this cardinal, about this kidnapping.
Right. Maybe they said, "Hey, we know you're good at kidnapping people, come do this." And they said, "Fine, bury me in a basilica, give us our money back, we're on your good freaking side now, we'll do this for you."
But then, like, what reason does Emanuela have for staying hidden in London that entire time?
Yeah, like, not, like, just running back away.
Right. And saying, like, hey.
Yeah, but I mean, she's in a church-run place. She could have said...
Oh, that's true.
She could have said, the Vatican shipped me here. And they're like, shut up. Shut up, girl.
Yeah, girl, stop.
Shush.
No, they didn't.
Now,
they would never.
I saw what I think is a very interesting theory on Reddit that I thought was worth including. So, in that expense report, there is a particular expense for Dr. Reagan at St. Mary's Hospital in London. Dr. Leslie Reagan in London was an OBGYN specializing in recurrent miscarriages and is now the head of the OBGYN department at St. Mary's. This Reddit user theorizes that perhaps the cardinals bothering Emanuela could have resulted in a pregnancy, which led to her being taken away by the Vatican to cover that up. A reporter did speak to Dr. Leslie Reagan, but she claims that she does not remember Emanuela Orlandi.
Yeah, that probably wasn't her name when she came to see you.
That's what I said. And her hair was cut. And also, why would you want to say that?
But, and also,
gonna
like,
kill your ass.
You're now the head OBGYN. Like, are you really going to remember the face of a girl you saw in the late 80s?
Mm-hmm. Right.
When you have all these other patients?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah. So I thought this was a really good theory. Now, all of this is obviously based on the belief that the expense document is real.
Yeah.
Which people argue that it could not be.
Is there also, like, I think it's also assuming that that's the only Dr. Reagan that she could have seen.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty, like, I looked at the expense report, and I think it says, like, Dr. Leslie Reagan, St. Mary's.
Oh, okay.
And, like, gynecology or something. So, pretty sure, but could be not, I guess. There could be more than one.
No, it's fine.
The following year, in 2013, Pope Francis took over after Pope Benedict's retirement. Pope Francis promised...
That's why he retired. The weight of it got to him.
Yeah. He said, I cannot keep these secrets
no
more.
Jesus Christ.
Literally.
I can't handle you people anymore. And everyone was like, oh my God, he quit. And he's like, yeah, I did.
Yeah.
And I'd do it again.
Y'all are nuts. Now, Pope Francis promised to do things a little differently. And has kind of stuck to that promise in some ways.
Yeah.
At another demonstration, like, they had another protest. They started doing these, like, annually. The Pope came close to Pietro Orlandi, Emanuela's brother, and he hugged him. The Pope whispered in his ear, Emanuela is in heaven. And her brother replied, well, we hope that she is still alive.
Yeah.
But the Pope leans in and repeats himself. Emanuela is in heaven. Creepy.
Yeah. That would be enough for me to leave the church.
Yeah. Pietro...
I immediately like, get the frick out of my ear.
Yeah. Pietro talked a lot about how unnerving this was.
Yes.
Very, very unsettled. Which, like, on the one hand, again, I'm like, she was taken in 83. It's 2013. Mm-hmm. It's been 30 years. Like,
yeah.
Maybe he just thought, like, it was safe to say that. Yeah. But then once the brother...
But then to double down?
Right, once the brother replies and is like, well, you know, like, look, she's our dad's age. She was born in 68. So, like, she could definitely still be alive in 2013. Yeah. So he's like...
Sorry, Dad. The Pope thinks you're old as shit. The Pope thinks you're old as shit. Let that sink in.
But, like, to have him say, like, we're still hoping she's alive somewhere, and then you're just like, she ain't. Let me just...
And, like,
no.
It feels passive-aggressive. Yeah. And, like, I don't want... That's, like, my worst nightmare, I think, is having the Pope be passive-aggressive toward me.
True.
Like, that would be like,
no, thank you.
I don't like this.
Yeah. Also...
For several reasons.
Yeah. Now, also in 2013, someone new became a part of the Orlandi case. Marco Accetti returned Emanuela's flute, which he said he had hidden in the studio of film producer Dino De Laurentiis, who is Giada from Food Network's brother.
Giada! She's so full of fucking secrets. She fucked Bobby Flay.
Yes.
And she's been hiding
Emanuela's flute.
Kidnapped girl's flute.
Yeah.
Arrest Giada.
She's in on it. The family did believe that it was Emanuela's flute. Now, there's no DNA on it, so it's not exactly confirmed, but, like, by looking at it in the case, they did believe that it was hers.
Yeah.
Accetti claimed that he was responsible for her kidnapping. All of the, quote, creative aspects.
No.
He says that it was really a fake abduction because she was tricked. He told her that her father was in some sort of trouble related to his house and convinced her to go with him. And somehow to him, this makes it not an abduction.
I think a lot of abductions actually begin as being tricked.
That exact way, sir.
Yeah.
He thinks you have to just, like, pick him up like a suitcase to...
Yeah, I'm friends with your dad.
Yeah. He also said, he's such an ass. He also said that they went on walks at night around Rome while she was being kept with him, and she would just wear a short wig. Very much just trying to brag that she was right under everyone's noses.
I think that's what he means by fake abduction. He's like, I didn't have to abduct her. She just came willingly.
Yeah. During this confession, he also says that he abducted another young girl in the same year, Mirella Gregori. She was abducted on May 7th, 1983. The family received similar phone calls as the Orlandis to their family bar, and they also thought that the caller sounded American. The caller described what Morella was wearing the day of her disappearance. Accetti claims that the plan was to abduct 2 girls of different citizenships, 1 Vatican girl, 1 Roman girl, to put pressure on both the Italian president and the Vatican. In fact, on September 8th, he had sent a letter to the Gregori family about getting Agca pardoned. We're right back there. Accetti...
What does this have to do with the Food Network?
Nothing.
Like, I mean, I just mean, like, why did that guy have the flute?
He's a very, very well-known film producer, but I don't know.
And this guy just happens to be besties with him?
And just hid it in his house. You're never getting invited over again.
No.
Just saying.
He's like, motherfucker.
You could have got my ass into jail.
Yeah.
Now,
my sister's fucking Bobby Flay. I can't have this.
Yeah, probably right then, too, in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
Accetti did have a history of crimes against minors, but he received a psych evaluation that determined that he was a narcissist and a psychopath, but was likely just seeking attention. Now, the flute is weird.
Yeah, no. I mean, definitely he's seeking attention, but why the fuck does he have her flute?
Yeah. Accetti did a televised interview with Emanuela's brother, Pietro. Let me just say, Pietro is the hero. Like, I love Pietro. Obsessed. In this interview, Accetti says some really shitty things, seemingly trying to provoke Pietro. Many have said that the only information that Accetti has shared, besides, obviously, the flute, has been public information. So, I don't know that the knowledge is, like, new, but how the fuck does he have this flute? Or if he, even if it's not her flute, how does he have a flute that looks just fucking like hers and, like, knows exactly how to replicate it?
Yeah.
So, Pietro asked him to answer a question that he wouldn't know from public information. He did not know the answer, but he claimed he just can't be expected to remember everything from that long ago. Except everything else that I've said.
Yeah.
This entire interview, and especially when Accetti claimed that Emanuela came with him voluntarily, confirmed to Pietro that Accetti was lying. They brought in voice analyst experts to compare Accetti's voice to that of the Americans, because the calls were recorded, and they determined that the American who was originally speaking to the Orlandis in June was a different voice than the one later in September to October making calls about Morella Gregori. That later voice, they said, was almost certainly Marco Accetti. I will say...
He's just a shitty guy. With her flute!
But he may have kidnapped someone.
Yeah.
But also, he's not American, I must say.
Yeah.
But, okay. Now...
Is it an accent?
I don't know. Yeah. Now, this means that the person who gave the Gregori family the description of their daughter's clothing at the time of her disappearance was more than likely Marco Accetti. Now, many consider him to be completely ruled out for the Emanuela case. But what are your thoughts?
I think it's pretty obvious that the Vatican hit her.
Yeah.
At this point.
If the documents are real.
Allegedly. But it's like what we were just talking about with the Diet Love Pass, like, everything clicks, except, like, why
flute.
does his man have her flute?
Yeah.
I would not believe he did it, except that he has her flute.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Giada had her flute the whole time.
Yeah, it was Giada the whole time.
Giada.
Accetti wasn't the only one to connect Emanuela Orlandi's case to Morella Gregori's. In the 2000s, a judge and a journalist conducted a study on young girls who had gone missing and been murdered in Rome, over 12 cases between 1982 and 1990, all 12 girls had similar circumstances surrounding their disappearance. They believed Emanuela and Morella to be victims of the same serial killer. According to their research, he lured all of the girls similarly with job offers, sometimes Avon, and then kidnapped and killed them. Could Accetti be that serial killer? Or could it be someone entirely different? And also, why are there two different voices?
I will say, I do think that his, like, reasoning saying that he wanted to put pressure on both
kind of
leaders, I think that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I could see someone scheming that.
Right.
But, yeah, if that's true...
And that would be a smart way to get Aliacha out, because like you were saying, it's not just the Pope's decision.
Right. If that's true that all of those girls, like, went missing under the same guise around the same time... Mm-hmm. That also has my attention.
But I was also going to say, first I was going to say, like, but could the Vatican have known that? Could the Vatican have called up the mafia and said, listen, these girls going missing, and it's just pretend you have a job offer, it'll look like all the rest of them, whatever. But the problem is this, like, 12 girls only started in 82, and then she was taken in 83, so, like, there wouldn't have been that much precedent yet.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. By 2018, the Orlandi family had a different lawyer, one not appointed to them by the Vatican. And she received an anonymous tip that said, to find Emanuela, look where the angel is watching, with a photo attached of a burial site with an angel statue above it. Nope. The angel was at one of only 2 public burial sites in Vatican City, the Teutonic Cemetery, which sounds really scary. The Teutonic Plague. A couple months later, the Vatican came out saying that they would be willing to open the tomb, along with its next door one. What do you make of this, and why are they voluntarily agreeing to open the tomb next door? No one asked for that.
I think that's super creepy. I also think that they know she's not in either of them. But they also know that they're under high suspicion. Mm-hmm. So they're like, yeah, we'll do it. And you know what? We'll even go a step further.
You're welcome.
And we'll open a second one.
Yep.
To show you how innocent we are.
Yep. On July 11th, 2019, they opened both tombs, which included a large room about 3 by 3 meters. And they were empty. Emanuela's remains were not found inside, but neither were those of the 2 German Catholic princesses that were supposed to be buried inside.
Princesses?
Mm-hmm. That's who gets buried there, not De Pedis.
Oh, apparently he does too.
So what do we make of this?
Where are the princesses?
Did they have to remove everything for a certain reason? Did they get in there and they were like, shit, we don't know which one's Emanuela and which one's not, so let's just take fucking everything? Why it's empty? Why it's empty? Help me. That's sketchy, dude. I'm sold. Those documents are real.
It again, like, feels like so, like, of course people are gonna be like, bitch, what the fuck? Where are your princesses?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just feel so suspicious, but yeah, how would they know? But then also, like...
And aren't they shocked? Are they not like, where are our princesses?
People aren't buried naked, typically. So, I would think that there would be some...
clothing...
sign...
burial wrappings... like, you didn't think 2 occupied tombs turning up entirely empty? You did not think that would be weird? Strange.
And so then, the next question is, what's their reaction? Are they like, where are the princesses?
Who stole our princesses?
We put them here. And do they launch an investigation to find the princesses?
I'm guessing they did
or
not.
Are they just like, oh, I guess no one was in here like we thought. Oh well, because that's how you know.
Mm-hmm. Now, once again, it feels like the family isn't any closer to an answer. But in November of 2019, Archbishop Vigano, former Secretary General of the Vatican State, sat down with a journalist. A little bit about Archbishop Vigano. First, he is a loyal Trump supporter and an avid COVID denier.
He's Italian?
I am not, quite sure. I thought he was American, but then I couldn't, find where he was. So I don't know.
I was just gonna say,
and he also maybe takes on. Maybe
you don't
he
need to be a supporter of anybody over here.
He might be American, and maybe he takes on a different name, like the popes do.
Yeah.
But he also in 2018 published an 11-page letter accusing Pope Francis and other senior church leaders of covering up the sexual misconduct of former Cardinal Theodore McCarrick, who's the big case in the U.S., the most well known, I guess. But he
is not the same one that was bothering.
No, this is just a cardinal in the U.S. But I'm saying this Trump supporter, COVID denier, also said, yo, let's not cover up sexual misconduct. So we're not sure how we feel about Mr. Vigano. I mean,
it's like when we were we were making fun of the Mormon Church being like, we have views on both sides. This is the guy.
Yeah. But he claimed to that journalist that on the day that Emanuela went missing, June 22nd, 1983, he received a call from a priest who was the head of the Vatican press that someone had kidnapped Emanuela Orlandi. But this call came in before the family had even reported her missing to police. So this means that the first call made by the kidnapper, presumably, was not actually to the Orlandi family after the Pope's acknowledgement of the disappearance, but would have been to the press. If we believe that.
Or there was no phone call, and they knew because they were there.
I was going to say, that's assuming that the kidnappers who called, but it could have been another...
The call is coming from inside the house.
Yeah. Another cardinal said, we got her. The latest...
They said it just like that.
They said it in Italian.
Like a cowboy.
The latest in this case is that earlier this year, in 2023, about a month after Pope Benedict's death, Pope Francis appointed the head prosecutor to re-examine Emanuela Orlandi's case following the Netflix documentary. The Pope said that there were new leads worthy of further investigation. So now, we have reached the end. Do you think that the Vatican is involved? And if so, did they kidnap her? Or was she kidnapped and then they were blackmailed?
Oh, no, they definitely kidnapped her. I know that the mafia is, scary. But I just have trouble believing that anyone could successfully blackmail the Pope.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels, or would try
Pope?
to.
The three popes, all three fucking popes.
It feels unlikely.
Yeah.
At some point, somebody's gonna be like, "We're the fucking popes." Come on,
leave us alone.
So I think they definitely, especially sending her to a little convent and keeping all the document of her, what they're paying for and stuff,
right.
That doesn't have anything to do with anybody else.
That's a government job.
Yeah.
My thoughts are, let me walk you through.
Help us, Francis.
If other people kidnapped her and used her for blackmail, what did they get in return? It wasn't Aliakcha. Right. Did they get their money back? Did they make some totally separate deal?
They got buried in a damn basilica.
And if they were blackmailed and they said, okay, give us this and we'll give you the girl back, and then that's when the Vatican shipped her out to London, why? Why didn't the Vatican say to her family, hey, we worked it out. You don't need to know what we did, but we got her back.
Yeah.
Unless what they did was just so shameful that they didn't want to raise any questions. But, like, I believe that either they kidnapped her first or he just happened to kidnap the right girl and they said, wait a second. We wanted her gone anyway. Like, there would be no reason to get literally rid of her. So, yeah. I think they wanted to get rid of her.
I think especially the wording on that itemized list.
Yeah.
What is the final procedure?
Yeah, burial is the idea. Is that the final procedure is, yeah. But I will admit that I believe all of this based on my feeling that the documents of the expenses are real.
Right.
If they are not real, then I really don't have that much to believe, like, that makes me believe that the Vatican had her or buried her.
Yeah. And if they are real, like, that paperwork went through 3 popes, or 2 at least, and however many people worked at the Vatican and had to do that paperwork at the time, and nobody was like, I'm sorry, what the fuck? We need to say something?
Yep. Now, in the off chance that the documents are not real, though they have a seal on them, and I believe them to be real, but if they are not, then I think the serial killer theory is viable.
Yes, I think that's a good second option. I'm fascinated by the Avon killer. Yeah, and I think
maybe you should do a case on, see if you can find enough research on, like, the Avon killer in Rome.
Yeah, and I do wonder, like, what are the odds that, and maybe even the Vatican didn't know, like, about it, but maybe somebody, because this guy that was buried in the basilica, he was from Rome, right? So maybe he had heard talk and he was like, I guess I could try that.
Yeah.
Works for that guy.
Yeah, it's true. I know it's Reddit, and I know I shouldn't just believe it, but I just kind of think she was pregnant.
Yeah.
I think her friend was a little too careful if he was just, like, flirting with her.
Yeah.
I think clearly, like, something very explicit happened.
Yeah, and I also think, like, if she's just confiding this in her friend's the only one who seems to be aware of it, like, how does the whole fucking Vatican know enough?
And what makes them and what makes them think she's going to tell? Like, how has she indicated? Because it's not like she told, like you're saying, it's not like she told her family. It's not like it was starting to get around. Like, she told her one friend because, like, her friend saw her crying. And, yeah, like, I feel like,
the only on your friend, and that's what comes out of their mouth.
Yeah. But, like, imagine, like, it's like, imagine how much bigger of a deal and how more urgent to get rid of her if she's pregnant.
Right. Crazy.
And then once you've taken her, even if she did miscarry, because we would not dare accuse the church of another situation. If she did miscarry, then, I mean, what? They can't just be like, oh, you can go back home now.
Yeah. It's too late.
Yeah. But I will say, if she died in 1997, she's still only 28.
That's when I was born.
Yeah, but that sucks. So then I have to wonder, did they end up killing her? that's the final procedure.
Right, like I'm saying, like the wording.
It could translate to paperwork.
But either way, that doesn't seem like burial.
Yeah, I mean, people thought final procedure meant, like, burial.
I know, I'm just saying, like, to me,
Paper.
that's not what it sounds like.
Yeah, paperwork to me sounds more like paperwork. You know? Like, I don't know.
Yes.
But maybe the procedure is like, well, I wouldn't dare accuse the church of this either, but maybe the procedure is like cremation.
You're like, I think they killed her, and I wouldn't dare accuse the church of these normal things.
Yeah.
Normal to others.
Yeah. I stand by my commentary, Mary.
Yeah. I remember when my husband told me he wanted to be cremated, and I was like,
mine does too.
In this church?
Mm-hmm. I said, guess you've given up any hope of being a saint, sir.
Yeah. What if they want to commemorate you?
What if you're a really good gangster?
You could go to the basilica. Like, yeah, can I just request to be buried in the basilica, and when they say no, be like, well, you buried a whole ass gangster there?
Yeah. Oh.
I can't possibly be worse than him.
Yeah. I did not kidnap nobody.
I didn't.
No. Well, that's all I have, but I'm actually really hoping this is our longest one and some of our best conversation, so I'm really hoping that people will comment, tell us.
We invited this time.
Yeah, we invited. Tell us what you think. What the hell happened? Other Reddit theories that I missed, I will take them. It's tinfoil hat time.
Please.
Please.
Feed us.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.